You started this company when you were 17. Now you're doing $20 million a year. What were you doing at 17?
Between homeless camps, couch surfing, and sleeping on the streets. I mean, it's bizarre that I'm sitting here talking to you thinking about that moment. We help work with brands to make sure that they're coming up and getting discovered when people are searching for what they do in those LLMs or in Google.
You know what's crazy? I do Podcast Summit, right? And it's literally one of the biggest podcast conferences in the country. I put in ChatGPT, what are the conferences for podcasting? I don't even show up in the list.
It's all about building that digital authority. You might have the most awesome podcast conference, but if you don't have like the authority signals that AI is looking for, it doesn't come up. AI looks at the same similar signals to Google. You need to be making sure that all the content being published on the About page, it's got a section about you, awards you've done, expertise, credibility. That's what I'm trying to tell and educate people how to build those authority signals so that you do start coming up. So maybe by the end of this pod, you'll be implementing this, David, and you'll be coming up next time I see you.
Welcome to another edition of the Social Proof Podcast, man. We find amazing entrepreneurs that are building big businesses, and today is no different. I thought that if I was the best in the world, people would find me and people will fall in love with me. And I am the best in the world, but for some reason, super talented people don't really get the exposure that they're looking for. It used to be, maybe 40 years ago, 30 years ago, the best musician in your town would get signed. Or the person who could sing the best would get most notoriety. Like, nobody can sing like this person. Nobody can rap like this person. But things have changed drastically. Now, it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with talent. It has everything to do with your ability to be found by the right people, your customers. There's so much noise online. How do you cut through the noise and allow your people to find you, your ideal customers, your fans, things of that nature? And that's why I think this conversation is so important, because the most talented people don't win anymore. It's the person who could be found. It's not about finding your customer. It's more so about making it easy for your customer to find you. And that is the conversation today. So today we have a very special guest all the way from Australia, sitting down on the couch. Harry, how are you?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here, man. First and foremost, you're younger than me, but more successful. And I don't know, if I was a hater, I'd hate a little bit. You know what I mean? But you've got an incredible journey, man. How do you introduce yourself typically?
I honestly just say I'm Harry Sanders. I founded a company called Studio Hawk and just love educating in the space.
Studio Hawk. Where'd you get that name from?
Honestly, so it was something I just came up with in 5 minutes. Didn't think it'd be a big thing. Called it Studio because it was just me, like Studio One. And then the Hawk, was low syllables, and I just liked hawks, and that was the name. Nothing I had no idea it would just be this big thing. It's funny. Oh my gosh, most people spend weeks, months coming up with the right name, and they're like, "Yo, what do y'all think about this?" And you just, Studio, because it was one person. And then I like hawks. Yeah, and then I registered. In Australia we got .com.au, and that was like $10, and I didn't register the .com because I thought, why would I need the .com? That cost me like 30 grand later, man. That was a mistake. Yeah. So register the .com, people. Register the .com.
Why did it cost you 30,000? You built the company, then someone took it?
Built the company in Australia and the UK. Someone saw that we were growing. They registered the .com, and they said, hey, I'll sell this back to you. It's good fun.
30 grand?
30 grand later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Don't make my mistake.
Okay. So Harry, tell us what you do.
Right. So I founded a company, Studio Hawk, which we said, and it helps brands with SEO and now a lot of AI search. Okay. So, it's no surprise there's billions of searches now in ChatGPT and Google's new AI mode. Berkshire Hathaway just today backed Google in that AI frontier. And so we help work with brands to make sure that they're coming up and getting discovered when people are searching for what they do in those LLMs or in Google, and make them money. That's what we do, and we're one of the biggest independent firms in the world now.
One of the biggest independent firms in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so when did you start this company?
When I was 17, 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Yeah,
11 years ago.
I was a baby, man. I was a baby. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So 17 years old. Today, how big is your company?
We've got about 150 engineers around Melbourne, Sydney, London, and Atlanta. Shout out to the US, Atlanta. And we do about 20 mil rev and rapidly growing, still growing about 40% year on year.
What, bro?
Yeah.
Hold on. You started a company at 17. When you say you have 150 engineers, what does that mean?
150 staff. We call them engineers. We call them wholesome nerds, actually. But yeah.
You have a company of 150 staff employees, 20 million revenue a year.
Yeah.
Wowzers.
Yeah, it's nuts to say out loud, man. It's nuts.
Oh my gosh. And you're not even 30 yet.
Not quite. I got another, year and 9 months? So I got work to do, man. I got work to do.
Congratulations, first and foremost.
Thank you.
So I want to get into the nitty gritty of what it is that you do, because obviously you're doing something well. And do you work with people, companies, a mix of both? What?
Mostly companies, some high profile individuals, but mostly companies doing $1 million plus. They're kind of spending, about 100 grand on paid ads at least. And now they're trying to figure out how they can lower that cost per acquisition or start dominating this new frontier of search.
So if I'm doing a webinar challenge, something like that, you're saying they bring you in to have to lower the ad spend. How does that work? I don't understand.
So because in Google search, you have to pay for visibility, right?
Yeah.
But you could do that through organic, and it's actually higher converting. So the organic is just everything on Google that's not ads. Same as AI search, because AI search doesn't even have ads right now. Yeah. So it's just about optimizing for that so that you're not paying Google and getting them rich. You're getting that. And we'll talk about that, but you build authority and you do all sorts of cool stuff to actually get that. And what's really cool, David, is now, we talk about the discovery phase, not just when people are finding you, but when people are comparing you. That's when AI search is a big, big part of the process now.
You said when they're comparing you.
Yeah.
To your competitors, you're saying?
Yeah. So people now, especially B2B, if you're searching for, obviously this is the best podcast you can stumble upon, right? This is where you want to be watching for entrepreneur stuff.
This is true.
But you might have compared different podcasts to see where you're spending your time. You might have done that in AI. And that'll give you all these recommendations based on what you think. And so that's the new frontier of that discovery phase.
You know what's crazy? So I do Podcast Summit, right? And it's literally one of the biggest podcast conferences in the country, right? No, I'm not even saying it because it's mine. I'm just saying like numbers wise.
Yeah.
And impact, things of that nature. I put in ChatGPT just out of kicks and giggles. What is the biggest, where can I go to learn podcasting? What are the conferences for podcasting? I don't even show up in the list.
Brutal.
And I'm seeing stuff that I've never seen before. Then I go to their social platform. They don't even, there's maybe like 30 people in a crowd. And I'm like, we got 1,500. What's happening here? I don't understand.
Yeah. I mean, this is the name of the game, David. Like it's all about building that digital authority. You might have the most awesome, and I'm sure you do, the most awesome podcast conference. But if you don't have like the authority signals that AI is looking for, it doesn't come up. And so that's what I'm trying to tell and educate people how to build those authority signals so that you do start coming up. So maybe by the end of this pod, you'll be implementing this, David, and you'll be coming up next time I see you.
Yes, 100%. Authority signals. Explain that.
So yeah, AI looks at the same similar signals to Google. And I'm going to go into the weeds for a second here.
Let's go.
I'm going to keep it try and keep it easy. So Google, when we do a Google search, it just does one search, right? It searches the keywords you look at and it comes back with the results, right? We call that traditional search. AI does what's called a fan out query. Sounds super cool. All it is really doing like 10 different Google searches. So if you search best podcast conference, in Google, it's just doing that one search. In AI, it's looking for best conference for podcasts, what podcasts are worth listening to, who is coming to the podcasts, all these different things. So 10 different searches and compiling those results. Now, how it ranks those is very similar to Google. So we look at 3 pillars. It's got your on-site, which is all the technical stuff on the website, the page speed, the infrastructure, how it's laid out. You've got the content. So this is super important in AI, making sure you've got expert-led content that AI can pick up, index, and serve.
Hold on, real quick. There's so many questions. Expert-led content.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Okay, so you need to make sure, David, you're obviously an authority in this space. You need to be making sure that all the content being published on the About page, it's got a section about you, awards you've done, expertise, credibility. Why, just like you would do here, why would someone, listen to you? Where's your authority? And that's what you need to be publishing on that page. And then every blog post you do, everything you do needs to be authored by you so that Google can see those signals across the whole web and go, oh, this David guy, yeah, when he talks about entrepreneurship, he knows what he's talking about. He's not just someone that's just fired up on Instagram for the first time and spewing stuff. So that's what we call EEAT, expertise, experience, authority, and trust. And that's the name of the game now. Absolutely.
You know what? I don't think I have that on the About section necessarily. I'm talking about the conference itself, but you're suggesting that I need to boast a little bit more about how amazing it is, the number one, this and that, because you're saying Google or AI is searching all the stuff that's said about this, and they just take that stuff as true.
Yeah, exactly.
So if somebody has better descriptions of their conference, even if they haven't even done it before, and they understand this and go to different platforms and talk about it, they just compile that. So when you type in ChatGPT, it'll say, oh, this is the one you need to check out. Not that it's necessarily the facts.
Totally right. So you need to, if you don't have, what makes you special, what makes the conference unique, AI and people don't know. It's impossible to pull that. So you've really got to put your best foot forward. You don't want to really subtly sell. You want to show, this is why I'm the credible source in this. This is, if you're a professional services business, these are my case studies. These are the things I've done. These are locations we serve. These are all the services we do. That's how you want to structure this stuff. Yeah, 100%.
Got it. Okay. I'm going to come back to that, but what was your third one?
The third one is what we call offsite. And that's where we talk about this idea of digital authority. And that's everyone else that talks about you, right? So me being on this podcast is good for my digital authority because I get a link back to it, and it sends a good signal to Google. But doing more of those things that build your digital authority, digital PR is huge in this space at the moment. And I'll talk about that. That is a crazy practical takeaway that anyone can do. It's basically coming up with a data-led story. So I've got another business on the side, as you do. It's a luggage brand, right? So we sell consumer luggage in Australia. And, we didn't have a lot of budget for this starting up. I mean, it costs so much money just to build a product, right? So we started doing digital PR to kind of shortcut our way into SEO. So we did stories like worst time to fly, right? It's got nothing to do with the luggage, right? People are like, well, why would you publish that? Don't you want to publish about how amazing the luggage is? Journos don't want to talk about how amazing your luggage is. But if you write out a story, a data-led story about the worst times to fly, and you get that data and you turn it into something compelling and you reach out to journalists, they will publish it. And you know what it says? New data from Caddy Luggage suggests that Tuesday at 1 p.m. is the worst time to fly. I just made that up. I can't remember if that was what the study said. But you get that authority, and when Google sees that or AI sees that, it goes, man, these Caddy Luggage guys, they know what's up. They're publishing pieces in the travel niche, so it's niche relevant, and it tells me they're an authority in that. So when people are looking for travel stuff to buy, we're going to make sure they're coming up 100%.
Okay, you're saying you build out a blog essentially, and you're talking about the worst times to fly. And when people are talking about the worst times to fly, they're pulling data from your site and they're saying that you said this and you're the authority.
Exactly.
Based on data.
Yeah. And we'll outreach that like a press release, 2 different publications. I mean, we got Travel Weekly, Forbes did a write-up on it. I mean, it's crazy. And this is something that anyone can do and people are not talking about right now.
Forbes did a write-up on the company, or they did a write-up on the topic and reference your company?
On the data. So they did a write-up on the data for busy professionals traveling. These are the worst times to fly. Data from Caddy Luggage suggests. That was it. It never spoke about us ever again. It didn't need to. But that link, that credibility has already benefited us massively.
Bro.
Yeah.
What?
Game changer, man.
I wouldn't. I would have never even thought of that. That's incredible. So that's called digital PR.
Digital PR, yeah.
And I think maybe that's why the traditional PR industry is kind of struggling now, because like, oh, well, I'll get you on a radio station or like maybe in a magazine or something like that. But someone that needs they need to know how to navigate the internet.
Exactly. And what's worse, you could have so much, you could have all these TV shows about you, you could have all this radio about you, but if it's not on the internet and if it's not picked up by AI or Google, it doesn't exist, dude. So you really need to be building that digital authority.
Okay. What do you suggest we do now to start building the digital authority? So I don't even know where to begin. Are you saying I need to set up a website and then a blog, or how does it work?
All right, let's break it down step by step. So I've got Caddy Luggage, right? That's the luggage brand. I want people that are searching for suitcases, luggage, kids, luggage, all that kind of stuff to find us in Australia.
Yeah.
Right? Now, there's a million ways to do that in SEO, but the fastest hack right now is that digital PR. So I'm going to go and I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do what's called ideation. I'm going to come up with some ideas that I could write about that are likely to get links. So another campaign we did is airlines with the most hidden fees, right? So see what I'm doing here. I'm staying in my niche. I'm looking at, Caddy, we do travel products. I don't really want to talk about our products because that's boring. That's not going to get picked up. But I know that travel's a massive subject that people like to talk about. And people love, knowing what airlines are shafting them, right?
Yeah.
Which airlines have the most hidden fees. So we went out. It sounds super technical, but all we did was we went, okay, we're going to get an airfare to Dubai and back, and we're going to compare 20 different airfares and see by the time we add all the extras and everything, or add your bag, how much it actually costs. So from this is the quoted fare versus this is how much you would actually pay. Get that, and then we start getting journalist details. And, that's a whole thing, but I've got some resources that people can access for that. I'll talk about that later. And you'd get those journalist details, reach out to people that have already written about a travel brand, and you say, hey, I've got this data that we've done at Caddy Luggage, which talks about which airlines have the most hidden fees. You send that email out, and you will be amazed how much publicity you get. The amount of people that want to talk about that stuff with data-backed studies is tremendous. You can rinse and repeat this on a million different topics. It's an endless amount of things that you can think about and get data on. And the SEO credibility, like we rank in Australia now for kids luggage and all these terms, we've only been around for a few months, right? And we get a lot of traffic. We're selling through ChatGPT now, right?
Wow.
It's nuts.
How do you know that?
Because we use something called Triple Whale, which like attributes all our data, and you can see an attribution channel from ChatGPT.
Triple Whale.
Yeah, it's like a dashboard. It's really good for e-com. Really good for e-com.
Can you go into that real quick? Because I need to understand. So Triple Whale, it just lets you know where the traffic's coming from?
Yeah, it's like Google Analytics, but kind of beefed up. So you can send like post-purchase surveys and stuff to make sure that, if Instagram or Meta's taking the conversion that the people are actually saying, oh yeah, I came from Instagram. It's a more, in-depth dashboarding solution. It's a bit expensive, but if you've got a big e-commerce brand, it's definitely worth it.
So are you saying you upload the information to Triple Whale and Triple Whale disseminates it, or you're able to it produces tracking links or something?
Yeah, it does. So it's like Google Analytics. You put a tracking code on your website, and it just handles the rest. Yeah,
Got it. And you could see that these sales are coming from ChatGPT of someone just randomly searching something.
Exactly. The only problem is, and this is the worst part about AI, is it's so murky, right? So this will say it came from ChatGPT because they clicked the link within ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. But I don't know about you, David. The amount of times I search for things but don't click the link in ChatGPT, and I'll search for the brand instead. I'll just go to Google or just type it in directly. That comes through as direct traffic, right? So there's no way of actually attributing that to ChatGPT.
Got it.
So that's why it's a bit murky. So I actually think we've sold, there'd be a lot more sales than what's been reported, but it's coming through direct.
Got it. It's good to see the sales, but it's more than that because
100%.
it can't track it.
Yeah. And that's where the post-purchase survey comes in handy, because then post-purchase, it's like, how did you find out about us? And people select AI search.
Got it.
Which it's just picking up so much now.
Wow. You said something about the what was it? The journalist connections. What was that?
The details?
Yeah, journalist details. What was that?
Yeah. So there's like a handful of ways. There's a tool called hunter.io to get journalist details, but basically you just want to go on different websites where journalists have published things, and you can copy it from, like, you can copy their details from there.
I don't understand what journalist details
Oh, like
are.
their email address and stuff, so that you can like reach out to them with your data, right? So it's literally crafting an email to reach out. Yeah.
Got it.
So that's kind of what you want to be doing. And we never ever have put anything out like this before, but I love giving away something practical.
Yeah.
So if you go to harrysanders.com/social proof, you get, like, there's 2 documents there. One's all about doing that digital PR process, like helping out crafting the actual email, so that if you're kind of lost about how you'd craft that, that's all there. And it's all free, by the way, but it is our internal docs. So you won't find this out anywhere on the internet, and I'm going to get rid of it after a couple of weeks, because I don't really want our competitors stealing it, to be honest.
harrysanders.com.
Yeah.
What was it? harrysanders.com?
/social proof.
/social proof. It's live right now?
Yeah.
harrysanders.com.
And if you chuck your details in there, you'll get sent those documents. All I ask, I don't want anything. Just give me a shout out as you start getting some AI sales. Be like, Harry did that for me. That's all I want.
I love it. Okay, get exclusive access to AI Search Accelerator and your data to get our client-only secret resources to build your visibility across Google. And this is something you're saying, once they get this, they can do the stuff themselves.
Totally. Yeah. If you're a founder or marketing manager and you've got the time, you can do this yourself, right? Like, if you're a big brand, I'd love for you to hire me. Or if you're like, you don't have time for this, great, awesome. But seriously, you can do this stuff yourself. The only difference is we guarantee results. If you do it yourself, I mean, you're on your own, but you might figure it out. You might, and honestly, I hope you love doing this, because I find it so much fun to come up with different angles, different ideas, and different ways to get placements.
Wow. Jake, you put harrysanders.com /social proof in there somewhere so they can see that. That's incredible, because I'm literally going to be doing this, because I have a conference coming up, and I do webinars and things of that nature, and we're always trying to figure out how do we spend less money in ads.
Yeah,
because we would love organic customers, organic traffic, things of that nature, right?
Exactly.
But how? So give me some of the stuff that they're going to receive in here.
So you'll get that whole digital PR kind of blueprint I spoke about. Everything from like helping you to, it's got our internal process of how we do ideation. So how you can use prompts and different things to come up with different ideas for your brand, how to craft an email, how to get journalist details, how to follow up with the journalists, how to track your results, all that kind of stuff's in there. And then it also talks about some of the easier minor hacks that you can use to come up in ChatGPT and Google's AI mode. So that you can start employing these things, over the weekend, over the week, whenever you get some time. And guaranteed, like I not only do this for clients, I do this for my own brand. That's the whole case study behind it, and it works, and it works really well. I don't know how long for. If everyone starts doing this, it might get crazy, but it works really well right now, and it's untapped in the US, definitely. Man,
give me some hacks, man, because there was one that I realized that was like super cool. Shouts out to my homie, a conundrum on Instagram. She told me to, which I thought was kind of weird. She told me to buy a bunch of domains for Podcast Summit. It's like, she's like, think about all the things people search, like, how do I start a podcast? What's the best podcast microphone or whatever? She said, buy all these websites. And then she did some magic behind there. And people started coming that I didn't know to the conference based on that. So can you break that down?
Yeah. Did you put content on those domains, or you just had the domains?
I think we just had the domains pointing to Podcast Summit, huh? Yeah, redirected to Podcast Summit.
Yeah. So a lot of the time you can buy, domains that have already got some authority that someone just let expire. Like they've got credibility or authority, and you can buy them and redirect them. Some brands take this to another level, like Canva, based out of Australia. One of their big strategies was they would buy businesses just to redirect their domain name. So if they had a business that was doing, like let's say you're doing podcast mics and you had a business, podcastmics.com, and you were seeing traffic there, you would just buy that and redirect it to wherever your podcast studio was to get that authority. But on a smaller scale, you could just buy several domains and redirect them. It is tough. There is some magic that goes on there, because then you have to kind of either they have to already intrinsically have some value, or you need to build some value on them. And you do that by publishing content or, doing digital PR on them, and then redirecting them back to what we call your money page, which is like where you want people to go. And that's a strategy, and it works. It's very time intensive though. I'm
a little, I need you to break this down.
Yeah.
Buying a domain, let's say let's say I do credit, and I'm like, I go get bestcreditrepair.com, and there's already content there.
Yeah.
I'm not using that content. I'm just redirecting it when someone goes to that website to my website.
Yeah.
Right. So, but why would someone sell a website that has traffic going to it already?
A lot of people just let domains expire. There's like a whole industry called expired domains. And it's, someone might have started a podcast a year ago, got a bit of traction, and then decided, you know what, dude, I don't have time to keep doing this thing. And so they let the domain expire. You could pick that up as an expired domain. And then you could redirect that to your podcast.
You alluded to something of creating content on the page. Mm-hmm. Are you saying that's a strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to, let's say you had a really good ad. Let's say you had, let's say you picked up, there was a podcast called the Entrepreneurs Podcast or something. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. And they kind of wound down, but they had so much authority and credibility. Let's say you registered that domain, you took that domain, and you started building up content on that rather than straight redirecting it, because a straight redirection's good, but if you believed you could still build up content on that site to keep that traffic going and then refer it to your site, that's even better. But again, takes more time, more resources. You'd only really do that if you saw like an absolute slam dunk winner. You know what I mean? Otherwise, better to just redirect.
Got it. Okay. And but then I have to build out. Let's say I get 5 websites. I got to build out and keep content going on these 5 websites?
Yeah, see, that's why it's really hard. You'd only do it on like really authoritative sites.
Got it. Okay.
Otherwise, you'd just be like, cool, redirect, move on.
Got it. All right. How do I start manipulating ChatGPT? Okay, because I'm really upset about this thing not pulling up my website.
Honestly, the best ways, we talked about fan out queries and how LLMs work. So again, behind the hood, all they're doing is a fan out query, a bunch of different searches, and that's ranked in Google. So LLMs use Google. ChatGPT free version uses Bing, cheap, but the paid version and Google obviously use Google, to index. They're pulling the websites that are ranking in that as sources and then compiling that into a view for you, right? Mm-hmm. That's all it is. So if you want to be one of those sources, you've got to be doing traditional SEO and coming up there. And that's when it comes back to, internal links. So having good linking between different pages in your website, making sure you've got a great about page, building up that authority. If you've got an e-commerce website, this is a real easy hack for you. Having a category page, right, for all your products, because Google wants to send traffic to your category pages. So have a category page with text and links to other categories. Or, let's say you've got a page for dresses. You want to have, links to cocktail dresses, formal dresses, whatever, on that category page to show. We call that information architecture. I love that word. It sounds super fancy.
Nah, it sounds dope.
Sounds so cool, right? But all it is really just kind of, mapping out the website so that Google and AI can see it super easy. But that's what it is. Honestly, there's no super quick manipulation trick. It's building a good experience for people and AI that can use it. It's showing that you're an expert. If you're a B2B business, make sure you've got awards up there. Make sure you've got case studies up there. If you're a local business, make sure you've got like a portfolio of jobs you've done. Now, if you're a painter and you're listening to this and you're like, well, I've got images. Dude, do better than images. Talk about the job. What was it like? How did you do it? How did you transform it? You might be sitting there thinking, man, that sucks. If you want work, sometimes you got to roll up your sleeves and do this stuff. Sit down. Consistency is key. Build out these pages. Talk about why are you the painter that I should hire? And then ecom, I already gave you guys a little hack. You got your category pages, but just look like a real business. Look legit. That's super important.
Got it. Is there anything you can do inside ChatGPT? Because I think, so shouts out to CJ and Conundrum and all my friends that are in that space. They're doing something inside ChatGPT. I don't know what it is. But like, are there some things that you can do in there in the platform?
So what you can do, there's one really cool hack. And I might need to like send you a video or something, but there's a way you can, using the developer tools in Google Chrome, you can inspect and you can see the network packets. And this sounds super complex because it is, but it's easy to do once someone gives you the step by step, and it will tell you the exact searches. We talked about that fan out query. Yeah. It tells you the exact searches that it's done in Google to come up with that. So they're the things you need to be ranking for, right? So that's a really good hack. In ChatGPT, there used to be some really easy ways of just asking, like putting in the same prompt multiple times in ChatGPT on different devices to get an answer. That's pretty much done now. Those kind of quick tricks, they kind of get fixed up and patched quickly. That's why I really believe in actually building up good authority. But one good thing, one super, basic but important thing is to put in ChatGPT and say, tell me all about this business, right? And it sounds basic, but you'll be amazed the amount of wrong information, right? Just incorrect. And if you're finding you're getting a lot of incorrect information, we've worked with a lot of big brands that have got a lot of incorrect information, like pharmaceutical brands, right? All this incorrect information is coming out. That's really dangerous for people, right? And so they've got to come in and make sure that they go on their product pages and add FAQs to really make sure that the information that Google is pulling or AI is pulling is accurate. Because otherwise it's going to hallucinate. If you're not giving it the answer, it'll hallucinate the answer. So you're better off giving it FAQs and stuff that it can understand.
I love it, man. For one, y'all need to learn how to manipulate ChatGPT. Okay, get the answer that you're looking for. Speaking of like what it takes, you started this company when you were 17. Now you're doing $20 million a year, almost 11 years ago. What were you doing at 17 before you started this?
Man, it's honestly a crazy story. Doesn't even feel real when I tell it. So, go back a little bit. So 14 is when I discovered SEO, right? I found the world of SEO at 14 and I loved it because, paid ads, you have to pay money. I came from not super well off. We were divorced parents, single mom. We didn't have a lot of cash. So I loved computers though. I was just, I was obsessed on this thing. And I played a lot of this game called RuneScape. Shout out to anyone that remembers RuneScape. What a game. RuneScape.
Y'all familiar?
Best game, OG. Anyway, so I played a lot of this game and, one of my buddies was telling me about this thing called SEO and it didn't cost anything and you can make a website. I had this great idea, David. I was going to make a travel website because at this point in my life, I'd never traveled anywhere. I'm all the way out in Australia on this island in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, one day I want to travel places. So I would get my friends on the game to write up, little travel guides on where they were. Because they were one of them was from Atlanta. One of them was from Phoenix, Thailand, all over the world. And they would write these guides. And I started learning SEO all those years ago to kind of start coming up. So when people would search guide for Atlanta, my website would come up and I started getting traffic. Long story short, I did that for about a year. I never actually traveled anywhere. That's the worst part of this story, man. And a year later, someone said, hey, would you be interested in selling it? I was 14. This is all over email. And I came back to him and I said, yeah, I would. But I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hit him with a super big offer and negotiate. You know what I mean? Let's call it anchoring. And so that's what I did. I hit him with this big price. I said, listen, David, I'm willing to sell you the website, but it's going to cost about $1,000, right?
And that was the big offer?
I was 14, man. That was a lot of money. Right. I'm thinking I could buy a computer. I might be able to afford a PlayStation or something. This is insane. Anyway, so they come back. They had a lot of questions. I thought they had a lot of questions because that's a lot of money. They had a lot of questions because that's not a lot of money. Yeah. They thought I was scamming them or something. Anyway.
The number was so low, they thought you were scamming
100%. Them. It was so bad. That was a lesson there. Anyway, I ended up doing some work with them. And so from 14 to 17, I actually worked there. And when I was 17, the agency actually semi-collapsed. And at that time, I thought I would start my own agency. So at this point in my life, I'm like, dude, I'm set. This SEO skill is awesome. I'm doing this all over. And I hit an absolute just curveball. So My mom had to sell the house when I was about 14, so I was living with dad. And, unfortunately, a common story, man, is I was 17. I was living with my dad at his partner's house because dad didn't have the place. And she decided I was baggage. She called me baggage, and she said to my dad, it's either the baggage or me. And, he was homeless when he was a kid. And, I think he thought it would toughen me up, And so I grabbed my laptop and my backpack, and that's all I had. And
your dad kicked you out because his girlfriend?
Yeah, because and this is the hard thing, and this is why it's so common. I wasn't allowed to talk about my mom in the house. She would refer to me as baggage around the house. I felt like baggage, man. Honestly, I did. And it just got to a point where she didn't like that I reminded her that my dad had another relationship before her. She had 2 kids. She didn't want me to be a part of that family, and she kicked me out. And dad went along with it because, I don't know, whether he didn't have the backbone or whether he thought it'd be good for me. I don't know, man. But I slept on the streets under a bridge. I was homeless for 8-9 months between homeless camps, couch surfing, and sleeping on the streets. I mean, it was, it wasn't a good time, man. It feels like it happened in another lifetime, to be honest. It's bizarre that I'm sitting here talking to you, thinking about that moment, 10, 11 years ago.
Do you still talk to your dad now?
It's a tricky relationship. Yeah. So I'm trying to work on my relationship with him. The problem is, man, it's been so long that, I don't know if I trust him. That trust isn't there. I see him more like an acquaintance rather than I think that paternal. I didn't grow up with him either. So it's not like we have that real connection. And he's still with that woman, after all the partners he dated, that was the one he ended up with. And so, that hurts, man. That hurts. So, I got a lovely relationship with my mom. First thing I did when I made money was get her a house. Wow. And so she's just the most incredible. She's had such a tough life, man. Like she was, she had her own journey, which, I'm sure she'll tell one day when she's ready. But she had it tougher than me. She had it tougher than me, and she's just such a kind, generous woman. Yeah.
Does your dad know the things that you're doing for your mom and the success of your business and things of that nature?
He knows. Yeah, he knows. Probably not how much, and I'll try to keep it that way.
Nah, I throw it in his face.
Yeah.
I promise you, Dad, I'm having this problem, man. My company did $20 million, and I just can't.
100%. So
wow.
But yeah, so it's been a hell of a journey. I think that's what I don't think I would have, started the business if it wasn't for that. I couldn't find another job. I couldn't even get a job at like McDonald's, Macca's, or anything like that. I was very introverted. I didn't interview well. My clothes were dirty. Things like, dude, you could smell yourself. Like it's such a, psychological, your mental health when you're going through that is just so low. I was so lucky I had these incredible angels help me, or who knows where I'd be, man. Who knows?
Wow. While you're 17 and you're couch surfing and things of that nature, were you working on the business, or did you get settled first and then work on the business?
So I didn't work on the business for the first few months, right? I actually, truthfully, didn't even have an idea for the business. I couch surfed with this guy who really helped me out. He told me like who was safe, who was trouble. We stayed together. We always had each other's back. I owe that guy a lot. And I had a social worker called Carla. And Carla, do you guys have social workers in America? Is that like a concept?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so Carla helped me like build like a plan. It's called like an individual development plan, IDP. And it basically is like, helping you with your mental health. Because my mental health was bad, man. Like I felt like baggage. Even when I was couch surfing places, I felt like sick because I felt like I was just a burden on these people, right? So like sometimes I'd prefer just to sleep at a homeless camp or even, on the streets, just because of that, my mental health. So she helped me with that. And I'll never forget, just a quick story. She would catch up with me every Fridays, and we would listen to R&B Fridays together. It was on the radio. And I was out. I was about 4 hours out. I was staying with someone for about a week, and so I couldn't come all the way back to the city. 4 hours there, 4 hours back. And so I called up St. Vincent's, was the charity that gave me the social worker. And I called him up and I said, hey, I'm not going to be able to make this meeting with Carla on Friday because I'm kind of out of town. And they said, oh, you must be mistaken. Carla doesn't actually work on Fridays. I was like, no, I've been catching up with Carla for months. It turns out Carla was giving up her Fridays just to catch up with me.
Wow.
Because she's so busy with all these other people, and she didn't want to tell me that she didn't get she got reorganized and she doesn't work Fridays anymore. And that, man, when that happens to you, it just hits you in the gut, And so that was a real turning point for me, because I was like, well, people really care. People want to make a difference. And she helped me enroll in this government business program. She told me about this program. It's so funny to look back on, man. It's insane. She told me about this program because I couldn't get government funding. It was awful. I had to go to my mom and get her to fill out this paperwork saying she was an unfit mom. It's the worst thing I've ever done. Right? Worst thing I've ever done. She was in tears. I'm in tears. My dad wouldn't sign it, so I couldn't get money. Anyway, so she says there's this government program and they give you money if you have a startup. And so she's like, you should enroll. I'm like, Carla, I don't have a startup. She's like, well, start one. And that's what I did. And that's exactly what I did. I said, well, I'm good at SEO. Maybe I could come up with something around that. And I joined this program. I met the third angel of my life, a guy called Graham, who was an ex-CEO, retired. And he taught me everything about building a business. He taught me how to register a company, everything like that, tax, how to get your first clients, networking, all these things, man. And I owe that man so much, right?
Give me one thing that stands out that you'll never forget that you learned from Graham.
I'll never forget networking, right? If anyone networks, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm this 17-year-old kid. Remember, Graham doesn't know at this point, but he knows that I'm not exactly super successful, right? I'm dirty clothes, dirty shoes, run down. And I'm going to these networking events, and Graham says, you got to go up and talk to people. And I'm this introverted guy. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you got to go up to talk to people. I'm like, do they come up to me? I'm like, no, man. You got to go up to people already talking and just insert yourself in the conversation. And I thought that was just about the most horrible thing I could ever think of. And this is coming from a guy that was couch surfing and on the streets, right? I'm like, this is the worst. And so I did that. I went up to people and, I did it, and I was like, go back to Graham, and it didn't work, because you're 17, no one really, everyone's like, what the hell are you doing here? But he just kept making me do it, and that perseverance. It took me ages to get a client, ages. It took me 2 months of doing this all the time with Graham until finally I got that client. But if Graham hadn't have made me do that, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have kicked off.
Yeah. Do you remember your first year in business?
Yeah. It was my first year in business. It's funny because everyone goes like, oh, you're 21, you came out of nowhere, you've got this big global brand. First year of business, we did $18,000 in revenue.
Enough to get you off the streets, man.
Yeah. And you know what, man? I was stoked because when I started the business, I wasn't sitting around thinking, oh, we're going to be one of the biggest in the world one day. We're going to do all this cool stuff. We're going to have all these engineers, all this software, all these academies. We're going to help all these other kids. I was thinking, man, if I could get enough money to get a share house, this would be the most freaking incredible business ever. And so when I got that client and I started working for them and they referred me another client, I was making $500 a month. And you know what that was? That was enough to get a share house. Yeah. And that was 12th of September. I'll never forget. That was just insane, man. A few days after my 18th birthday, I just remember just sobbing. That was nuts. Yeah.
Because you got 500 above.
Yeah.
Locked in the
$500
contract,
a month.
and then they referred you to someone else. When did the rates start going up?
When did the rates start going up? It's a good question. Well, it was, you got that snowball effect, right? So anyone that does professional service knows that if you start doing a good job for people, people refer you, right? It's still one of our biggest lead acquisition sources today. SEO second. So we get a lot of people that will talk about us. So, I did good work for those two people, and they referred people, and then they referred people. And eventually, it's funny. I was at a networking event, and I met this other young guy, and he was kind of in the space, but not really. He was just starting out. And he said, it sucks that I didn't meet you earlier because I'm about to have to like move in back with my parents down in Tasmania, which is, you know, down south in Australia. Because he's like, I don't have any more money for rent. And I don't know, I felt bad for this guy. I really liked him, you know, really liked this guy. And I said, you know, what if how much would you need for rent? And he's like, I need about $700. And I remember like, that was a lot of money, right? Like that was still a lot of money for me. I was like, oh man, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $700, but you got to work with me now. You've got like, I'll teach you and you help me with these clients. Cause I started having a few and I needed some help on things. And I remember I gave him $700 and I went home and I felt good about what I did. And then I had this realization. I was like, oh crap, I just hired someone. What the hell have I done?
You're a CEO.
Dude, I just put a roof above my head like 8 months ago, 6 months ago at that point. And I was like, and I've just hired someone and now they're depending on me.
Yeah.
But you know what? You know, that was one of the best things that ever happened because, you know, I Studio Hawk became an actual company. You know, it had 2 people and I taught him and kept growing it. Yeah.
How long did that person stay around?
They were with the business for 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we got people that have been with the business, 8 years now. Yeah, it's been incredible. And, one of my favorite things about the business is, and something that's made us so successful is we have this idea of we hire juniors from all walks of life. We don't look for people with a ton of experience like in a junior role. Our junior roles mean junior. We'll take you with just an attitude, hard work, and we'll make you into a world-class SEO specialist. We partner with a lot of disadvantaged youth programs back in Australia to help give people pathways. And some of our best people, like our general manager, our chief of staff now, he came from a difficult background. We've had all sorts of people, all sorts of backgrounds that have become world-class leaders in the space. And I truly believe that, people can learn this. This is such an in-demand skill. Mark my words, in 10 years, when AI is just exploding and AI search is everywhere, it's in your Meta glasses, you'll be glad you learned this skill.
I love that. At what point did you realize, whoa, this is a big business. I'm rich almost. And I don't know if you ever I don't know if you ever say that because I don't think I've ever had a moment like, oh my gosh, hold on, am I rich? I didn't think like that. I don't know. Did you have a moment where you realized, I'm not that dirty kid at 17 anymore?
I mean, there's a few moments you have, and they're micro moments, right? So my first micro moment, I went out, actually 2. 1, I got Ubers for the first time. That was like, whoa. That was like, for me, getting an Uber was always a rich person thing.
Really?
Right? Yeah, because we had trams and like public transport and you would jump on and you would save money. It might take you a long time to get somewhere, but Ubers cost money.
I'm talking about Uber X. I'm talking about the little Honda Accord that comes to pick you up.
I'm talking about any Uber was like a big moment for me. Uber Eats was like, what am I even doing? Like, this is ridiculous. I could go over and pick this food up myself and I'm paying someone? This is insane. That was like a whoa, okay, that's a moment. Going to a restaurant and like ordering what you want, like not going, oh, if I get the smoothie, I'm probably not going to get this. Just ordering what you want. That was a big moment. These micro moments, they don't seem like rich person things, but they are. Like not looking at the price, going out to eat every night, because you can. You traveling around the world was a big micro moment. Buying a house, like being able to buy my mom's house in cash. Like, not having to get a loan and buying my house again. Those are all those, come on, compared to Uber Eats, those are a bit bigger, I agree. Yeah. But, it's all these little moments. I've never been a flashy guy. I don't wear like a crazy watch, or I wouldn't say I drive a crazy car or anything like that. But those are the moments that I think you realize, you've got this lifestyle now that, you don't look at yourself, you don't worry constantly. Yeah.
On the other side of that question is, at some point, have you realized that money isn't as important as you once thought it was?
Yeah, I mean, look, and there's so much data around this. Once you're making, what is it, 70K, 60K, any increase in money is like, it really falls off. Up until that point, having money is insane, right? If you've gone from like having nothing to having some money, you'll attest to this. It's a game changer. Like your quality of life, when people say like money doesn't buy happiness, you're like, dude, you haven't not had money, right? Because if you've not had money, you realize that it gets you 95% of the way there. And these rich ass people complaining about money problems, like, bro, get real. But, you know, once you're making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, you know, it starts becoming a barrier. Because if you go, oh, you know, I met so many people, they're making, you know, they're like, I'm like, what do you want to do, Dave? What's the next goal? And they're like, oh, I want to make 100 mil. If I made 100 mil, I'd be happy. I'm like, yeah, but what's the difference between making 10 mil and 100 mil? Not that much. It's actually not going to improve your happiness that much more. You know what will? Good community, good circle of friends, doing something for your head, your heart, and your soul. Like, those are the things that make a difference. So we do a lot of things, you know, that don't make us money. We have an academy called Hawk Academy, which is where anyone can learn SEO for free. That costs us a lot of money. Yeah. That costs us 6 figures a year in money. You know, training these juniors, you know, it's, you know, you can argue that because on one side, it costs us hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in learning and development because we have a whole team around that. You know, paying these people a wage. We pay all our juniors. We don't do internships. We believe in paying people. But on the flip side, these people are loyal and they work hard because you've given them a chance, right? So, you know, I think there's sides to it. But yeah, I you know, money ain't everything.
Yeah.
But it is everything when you've got none.
100%. It's hard to say it because most people still won't understand it until you get there and you realize, even like as we look at these large companies that are going out of business, and I get your perspective on this, when your company is more successful, you typically get more overhead, right? More staff, you got an office in Australia and Atlanta, right? And people think, oh, you're just rolling in the dough. You don't get to keep all the money that you gross, right?
So that's a great point.
How do you navigate growing a big company and kind of securing the success, essentially?
Yeah, and I mean that's you know when you say the company's making $20 million, I think there's people that go, whoa, this guy's making $20 million a year. No, I ain't making $20 million a year, right? I'm making honestly like probably 3 mil of that, 3 mil of that. So it's like, you know, slightly over 10, 15%. And a lot of that gets reinvested into the programs I spoke about before. We got 2 offices in Australia, Melbourne, Sydney. We've got an office in London, an office here in Atlanta. Atlanta, you know, just to start off this office cost, you know, 200, 300 grand just to kind of get started because you have to get visas, you have to do all this stuff, you have to kind of get the company started. We've only been here for less than a year, but we've already, you know, broke even. We're now doing, you know, $1 million here in Atlanta, which is awesome for us, right? Yeah. But, you know, it gives you an idea of, the cost of these things and getting started. And, but, you know, coming back to it, how do you manage that? You have to have firm thresholds because you've got profit, but then there's also cash flow, right? They say revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is king, right? That's a good saying. Like because you can have 10% profit on paper, but if you've got clients that are 6 months late to paying a bill or they, you know, default on something, all of a sudden you're 10%, you might be negative 2%. And then who's floating that business? What are you doing? So it's important to have profitability in the business, but you need to determine where that threshold is. Now, we're growing super quick. Yeah. And so profit for me is not the primary motivator right now. It's growing the team, the revenue. We're investing hard in AI and R&D around that, you know, software we're building, because we really believe in owning that space. And I think we've got a fantastic opportunity to. Now, that comes at the cost of profit. And look, the reality is I'm 28. I'm already, I'm the sole owner of that business. I've got a couple other like employees that have, stake in that, but we don't have any investors or anything like that.
No investors.
So, I think for me, could I make more profit? Yeah. Would I know what to do with it? Not really, man. Like I already bought my mom a house. I bought me a house. I took some chips off the table in that. And that was important because now we've always got a place to go. No matter what happens, the internet blows up tomorrow. I got a place. She's got a place. Yeah.
That's huge. And I can see why that's of importance because at one point you didn't.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're, I wanted to ask this too. You have a staff of 150.
Yeah.
What have you learned about leadership and leading these people?
I've learned so much about leadership, man. And different stages of leadership, which is something I don't think people talk about much. You know, when you're leading a business at 5 people, it's completely different than 150 people. It's completely different, you know, when you got thousands of people. You know, these stages of leadership are so different. For me, it's, you know, I think a company gets its values from the founder, so you've always got to be very careful and deliberate with that. We hire people, you know, all around the world on the weekly, right? And I'm floating around all around the world all the time. So sometimes I don't get to meet everyone. But when I'm in office, I like to make sure we do a you know, an hour with me, just whoever started in the company. I'll sit down with them and I'll tell them the story about how the company started, right? Why we have programs like the junior program, why we give back, and why we care about our clients and all these things. Because otherwise what happens is you risk the company getting so big that people lose the why. They lose like the care. So it's just, oh, it's just another client or it's just another team member. But I don't want people thinking like that. I want people understanding, no, it's not just another team member. Like that person, you don't know what they've gone through to get here, you know, and you don't know where they're going to go and how we can be a part of that journey. That client, you don't know. They might be here in 10 years, refers to another 20 clients. You know, we've got a lot of clients like that. So, you know, it's about looking after everyone and making sure everyone's bought into that deeper mission and vision. Because otherwise, you know, I see a lot of people, they struggle once they get past 10, 20 staff because there's not a real connection. And I don't have a connection with every person in the company. I can't. But I want them to understand why the company was created so that they can have those same values and embody that in how they carry the company forward. Because I'm not even, you know, there's general managers in each region. I don't even handle the day-to-day operations of anything. So I need to trust in them that they are doing what I would do to keep that company flourishing.
I love that, man. This is one, I'm just super inspired by, one, your story, two, what's happening in the AI space and your knowledge of it, because I do need to have a stronger conversation on how you can like even assist me as a person. Well, first I'll go get the download and check it out. And I do want to figure out how I can grow my brand, whether it's my speaking career or my podcast conference or my podcast itself, right?
Yeah.
There's ways that you will go about that, right?
Definitely.
What do you see right now in the space as it comes to AI as it relates to building a brand? Like, do you see some things dying? Do you see things growing?
So I see, you know, 2 big things emerging, right? And I'll put my cards on the table. That's why I'm doing stuff like this, appearing on podcasts. I previously haven't done a lot of this stuff. I've been focused on building Studio Hawk, but now I see the value in personal brand. Right? Because in a world where you can have an AI persona, an AI character, authenticity is so important. And having experts share information rather than regurgitated stuff from ChatGPT is so important. So if you're an expert in your field, which you should be, you know, at something, you know, that's why you have a business, that's why you have a thing. You should be talking about your unique expert views on that. You should be talking, you know, if it's a B2B business, you should be talking on podcasts about that. You should be doing YouTube about that. All these things that we previously wouldn't call SEO and now what we call search everywhere optimization and are a part of SEO. Because in this age where everything's fake, real people will prevail and real brands, real personal brands, will excel. And so that's one big part of it is you're building that out. You know, even if you're an e-commerce business, it's about how do you showcase that online? How do you get real customer testimonials, real user-generated content? How do you put that on your product pages? You know, all those things just make a massive difference because people, you know what, man, people don't trust anymore. People don't trust, you know, and you might be like, oh, Harry's this SEO guy. How do I know he's got 150 engineers? Go Google it. There's so much information online. And, you know, it's because I agree. Go out and research it because there's so many times I hear someone say something and they're like, oh, I got 400 staff. And you look up on LinkedIn or something, they got like 2 people, you know, like they're just making stuff up. So it is this age of like people can say anything. But you know, AI is there to fact check it, and you're there to help AI fact check it by building out that authority and building out that credibility to make it as easy as possible. But that's why that's one thing, that personal brand. That's why it's so important to be doing that now and attaching your brand to everything you do. Because all this faceless YouTube stuff, I do. My personal view is it'll die off as people go, you know what, that was a cool trend, but I kind of want to listen to real people. I want to listen to the Davids of the world that have got experience. And so that's why that's so important. That pulls into all the other SEO stuff. So I think that SEO and AI search is just emerging, and that'll still be pulling all the things I spoke about, all the digital PR. What's dying? I think what's dying is, I think a lot of, those like fake tactics or like cheap tricks are dying, like follow for a follow, or you link to my website, I'll link to your website, or crafting 1 million AI videos or 1 million pieces of AI blog content. That stuff is dead or dying, right? If you're doing that, stop wasting your time. It's probably hurting you more than it's helping you, and reinvest that time into just focusing on what is the 1 or 2 things that you're going to do that are actually going to get traction. If you put a month behind building out your digital PR, man, personally email me and tell me that I wasted your time if you didn't get results. Because seriously, like that it's so effective that I know that's going to work versus a month of posting AI clips. Yeah. Which is like, who is that? The internet's saturated with that.
Yeah. I think even, what's it, Sora? I think it was super cool. And I think it's like somewhat entertaining, but it was almost like last week it was like, whoa, that's cool. But now you see it, it's like,
yeah.
All right.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there anything I didn't ask you? I think we covered a lot of ground. Is there something is there something important that I forgot to ask you that the audience really needs?
What do I think the audience should take away? I mean, we recap digital PR, we recap the pillars of SEO, and I want to stress, SEO is not that hard, guys. It might sound complex, but I want you to understand it is really simple. It's something you can learn on a weekend. There's, I've got a YouTube. There's a lot of YouTube content out there that'll teach you about like on-site, off-site, how to build content, all this amazing stuff. But it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not even going to happen next month. But what will happen is over years, this will compound, right? Like Studio Hawk, for instance, our biggest source is referrals. Our second biggest is SEO. And fifth at the moment is AI search, but that's climbing fast. That's going to become one of our biggest resources. And what's really fascinating, what blew even me away and the whole team, is that SEO is still about 36, 40 something % of all our lead sources. And we expected that to go down because AI search would take that traffic. No, AI search is 11% and it's on top of that SEO, right? So that's crazy because it hasn't stolen any of our SEO traffic. It's just added new traffic, new audience that we weren't reaching before. So I don't know if that'll hold up. But there is a lot of studies coming out saying that there's like differences, people are using both traditional search and AI search, and they're not using one or the other, which I thought was really fascinating. But it's a whole new frontier. And the people that are doing it now are going to be the ones dominating, just like, Amazon was when they dominated the SEO game, just like, Zappos, all these brands that have conquered the SEO game. You'll see a new wave of these people come through that get the AI game.
Wow. Okay. Last question. So you know what? This is what I'm trying to do. I'm looking to build out the biggest podcast conference in the country and have it recognized as such. We'll have the people there. I'm also a personal brand where I speak and I teach, I host things of that nature. What would it look like for someone like me to work with you? What do you think you'd be able to do? And what would be the type of investment that I would look for after I get after I do what I can on the free resources you sent?
Yeah. So we start from about $2,000 a month, right? And as part of that, so it's not as crazy expensive as what people think. I thought it was
10 grand. I had a conversation with somebody who did SEO for Google, and they're like, it's going to be about $10,000 a month, and it's going to take about 6 months for you to see anything. And they just set that expectation. I was like, God.
You know what's funny? If I can be honest, that's why we've grown so quick in the US market, because there's so many people charging so much money for such average quality of service compared to, the UK and Australia, where people just expect higher quality for less, right? So shout out to the US. It's been an incredible market for us. Thank you.
Makes sense why you moved to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
So about $2,000 a month. Now, we do this process. We turn down, and I mean this in the best way possible, about 50% of the leads we get. Now, we do that from a place of kindness. We don't think we can help, right? If we don't think we can help, we're going to be real honest, because we don't do lock-in contracts, right? Yeah. Our whole USP is no lock-in contracts, just SEO. We don't do any other service, and you work directly with your specialist. So you don't have, some account manager talking to an account manager doing a thing. But we turn that away if we don't think we can help. If we turn you away, we'll give you a ton of free resources, tons of cool stuff so that you can learn more, do more. And you know what? We've had a lot of brands come back 12, 24 months later say, you know what? I did all this stuff. We're getting a lot of traction through SEO now. Would like to have another conversation, and they become clients. But yeah, so if you're spending money on paid ads, that's a good fit. But what we would do is we'll work with you either to build out that digital PR, to build out traditional links, to build out content, or work with you to get you to build that content, but giving you briefs and data on what you should be producing. We'll work with you to make sure that the website is optimized for AI and SEO and it's laid out correctly, and give you a lot of strategies. So like for you, I'd suggest, all the speaking events you're doing, we need to have a ton of that stuff on your speaking page. Now, I haven't seen your speaking page, but we need to be talking about all the places we've spoken, all the places you've spoken at, having videos of that, showing the crowd size, showing why you're an awesome speaker, getting feedback scores, those testimonials, video testimonials from people. Like once I book you for a speech, speaking spot somewhere, I imagine that, costs money, and you're going to get booked from someone, and you're going to want them to do a testimony on how amazing you were for that conference and what people should take away with that. You should transcribe that using AI or write that up yourself and put that in there so that people with accessibility or our good friends AI can easily understand what's said in that video and pick that up and index that. So that when someone searches, is David from Social Proof a good speaker, it comes up with, here are the 10 recent speaking engagements he did, and here were the common testimonials and feedback that he got.
Wow.
That's going to look awesome for you, right? Because it's not coming from you, but it is, right? It's stuff you published and you kind of put out there, but is, credible people from other things. And people can call up those people, do a reference. That's not just for the speaking. You do this for the podcast. Sponsors. You want more sponsors? Great. Interview your sponsors. How much did that attribute for your business? What was the value of that? And then when they talked about the results they got and how they want to come back sponsor, you will not struggle to get sponsors, right? Because everyone's going to be lining up to sponsor because they're seeing the proof behind, what they're getting.
This is so good, man. Yo, listen, if you are watching this right now, I need you to go to Instagram, Harry Anderson SEO. Harry Anderson.
Harry Sanders
Harry
SEO.
Sanders.
Yeah, sorry, I got you.
Harry
right.
Sanders, my bad. Harry Sanders. I was reading it and I got mixed up with the Anderson. Okay. Harry Sanders. Okay. Somebody put it in the comments right now that y'all got the correct spelling. Harry Sanders SEO right now. And if this episode did anything for you, learned anything, you actually went to the website and got the free resources, just send them a DM and say, thank you, man. Thank you goes a long way. You spent an hour here giving out information that they didn't have to pay for, right? So if you got inspired or motivated, whether it was the story or the game, whatever, I think that's important. Just go to his Instagram right now, hit a follow, and send him a DM to say, thank you, this is what I got. You might be able to build a relationship that way, man. So, Harry, thank you so much for coming today. This was an incredible conversation. And again, I'm going to talk to you about some things that I'm doing that I really believe that you can help with. So after that, let's have this conversation. But if you can, let us know two things. One, how they can work with you. And two, leave us with a word of wisdom.
All right. How you can work with us. We've got a website, studiohawk.com. You go there, it's got a ton of information. If you're not quite ready to work with us yet, there's a ton of free resources. There's an academy. We put out so much free stuff because we really believe in educating this industry. There's so many, we say there's a lot of SEO hustlers, but not many masters. A lot of people say we're in a competitive space. I can tell you now, there are not many people in our space that are actually masters. And that's why we put out so much content. My word of wisdom, my favorite saying, and if you've heard this before, too bad, you're going to hear it again. Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year, but underestimate what they can do in 5, right? That idea you're working on, that thing you're doing, if you come to me and you say, I give it 3 months, dude, don't waste your time. Bin it now. You come to me and you say, I believe where I can take this thing in 5 years. Studio Hawk, 18 grand first year. You know, if I set that business up today, I'd be like, that was a failure, move on to the next. But here we are 10 years later, $20 million, global team, growing. You know, you might look at Studio Hawk, you know, Atlanta, and people, the comparison is, you know, the thief of joy, and that's another one, that's a freebie. But people look at that and you're like, well, you built this out in Atlanta in 1 year, and you've got, you know, 6 staff here, and you're doing $1 million. Yeah, but that's 10 years of building other businesses before that, you know? So don't compare yourself to other entrepreneurs. You don't know their story. You don't know how much help they've had, because I guarantee you everyone gets help. Don't be afraid to put your hand up and ask for help, because that is how you get forward.
Well said. Man, Harry, thank you so much. Listen, y'all, go follow Harry Sanders. Go to the website, harrysanders.com/social proof. I don't know when you're watching this, but it may not be there forever with the free resources. harrysanders.com/social proof. Okay, so do yourself a favor. Go follow Harry, send him a DM, and go to the website, and also get you some social proof, meaning go build something and build it really, really big, but come back to your community and teach them how you did it. It's the only way our communities grow. We are out of here. Peace.
Thanks, guys.